the gateway to the northeast, full of lush green fields and rivers. Assam. It has had a glorious history of kingdoms and tribes and is world famous for its tea. But behind the sweet smell of the Assam tea lies a history of bonded labor, subjugation, and human rights abuses. Today, Assam has one of the worst health status in the country. With a considerable population below the poverty line, many of its underprivileged communities have limited access to good nutrition and medical facilities. Despite numerous programs, it has failed to show improvements in health indicators for mothers and children. So why is Assam, the cradle of the mighty Brahmaputra, failing at taking care of its own children? There is a battle happening in Assam right now, and Assam's children and mothers are in it all alone. On this trail to uncover and document malnutrition in Assam, we visited two distinct communities, heading first to Dibrugarh. Vast estates like these grow the world-famous Assam tea. Many of these estates are centuries old, just like the hands that pick the leaves. These are Assam's tea garden laborers, or TGL, an abbreviation that has stripped them of all individuality and relegated them to the corners of society. The tea garden laborers make up about 20% of Assam's population. The women work all day in the gardens, picking tea leaves, while men work in the factories and the children live a life of neglect. Preeti is visibly malnourished, a direct result of poor nutrition intake during pregnancy. Her mother has not been able to produce sufficient milk to breastfeed her. She's young and weak, having given birth to 2 children already. Loki Ram, her husband, earns 167 rupees a day, the minimum labor wage in tea gardens, an amount that most will agree is not sufficient to feed 5 mouths in a house. Preeti is a Assam child. Severe acute malnutrition is defined by very low weight for their height and severe muscle wasting. At 46.8 million children, India has the highest number of stunted children in the world. And almost 70% of India's adolescent girls are anemic, and half of the same population is below the normal body mass index.
বাগানৰ মহিলাসকল ৰাতিপুৱাই ওলাই যাবলগীয়া হয় তেওঁলোকৰ কামৰ কাৰণে তেওঁলোকে শিশুসকলক সময় দিবই নোৱাৰে ৰাতিপুৱাই কিবা এটা ৰান্ধি খুৱাই থৈ গ'ল দিনটো তেওঁলোকে খাবলৈ পালে নাপালে এনেকুৱা ধৰণৰ হয় গতিকে তাত পুষ্টিহীনতাটো অলপ বেছি হয়
With no guarantee to adequate food and benefits, this is a life they have been forced to endure for centuries without any other options. But who are these people? Over 200 years ago, hoping to end China's monopoly on the tea trade, the British started growing tea in Assam. Thousands of acres of forest land was cleared and turned into the tea gardens we see today. Tea was soon becoming popular all over the Western world, and Assam became a hub for tea planters and investors. But the British were faced with a problem. The local tribes were reluctant to work in the estates, and they soon ran out of labor. This led to one of the most dark and lesser-known chapters of forced migrations in this country. Adivasis from central Indian states were brought to work in the tea estates under fraudulent contracts. Flogging, torture, sexual harassment were common in the estates. The owners heavily punished anyone who would be absent for work. Children were made to work so that they would take up the same job when they grew up. This was a form of slavery. 2 centuries later, their descendants have made Assam their home. While some traditions have stayed on, many do not know their own roots. Despite the Plantation Labour Act, their conditions have not improved. Without good sanitation, drinking water or hygiene, they are vulnerable to malnutrition and many communicable diseases. Pooja and Preeti are just 2 faces in thousands that now suffer just as their ancestors did, bound to a land that was never theirs to begin with. "17-year-old Jubeda Begum wakes up on the floor with her 8-day-old son. She has not eaten properly for a few days. The baby was born with respiratory distress and congenital malformation and weighed only 1.8 kilos at birth. The infant mortality rate in Darang district is 70 deaths per 1,000 live births, and for children under the age of 5, it is a dangerous 99 deaths per 1,000 live births. Jubeda's son has a long battle ahead. For children like these, survival is a game of chance in Assam. Daud and his son Ijaz are on their way to the local Anganwadi. Daud is a carpenter and stays out the house for months and weeks. Ijaz looks visibly distant from his father.
बेबी चला गया है अंदर में चला गया वो नीचे गांव में आग लगा दिया है.
His mother committed suicide 2 months ago, leaving behind Ijaz and his 8-year-old sister.
क्यों किया?
निजर का जुई लोग अच्छे.
The neighbors alleged she was regularly beaten by Daud and hence took the drastic step. Daud says she was not of sound mind. The truth lies somewhere in between. Domestic violence is a common feature in communities that have been deprived for so long. Ijaz falls under the moderately malnourished category. The children are now taken care by their aunt. His future as a healthy child depends heavily on how he is cared for today. Shehnaz struggles with her son, Aziz. She was married at 15, but her husband left her for a second wife, and now she has had to move in back with her parents and spends her days taking care of him and idling away.
A child born to a mother who was married too early, who didn't have antenatal care when she was pregnant, who lives in a household in areas that don't have access to health. That sort of a clustering of risk factors. Children born into households like that will be much more likely to be wasted.
Back in Dibrugarh, we meet Aarti as she brings her baby Arup, who is malnourished, to the local Anganwadi center. As the Anganwadi workers struggled to properly weigh Arup and measure his height, this was symbolic of the lack of a trained workforce needed to fight malnutrition.
The family goes to the Anganwadi center, they will be weighed and measured over there. So if that diagnostic work doesn't happen with the right quality, we'll be missing catching the children either who are on their way to becoming wasted and malnourished, or who've already become wasted.
Anganwadi centers are supposed to provide fresh, hot-cooked meals to children under the age of 6 in the community. In Darang, Mohiran is escorted by the local Anganwadi worker for a home visit. Her youngest daughter, Sakina, is 21 months old and severely malnourished. She has 5 other children and is also expecting another one. She does odd jobs and doesn't make enough to feed the children. The Anganwadi then becomes the only source of good nutrition to her children. The Anganwadi center at Muamuri has not cooked a single meal for the past 15 days.
আমাদের অফিস থেকে অ্যাকাউন্টে পয়সা দেয়, তারপর আমাদেরকে উঠাবার জন্য আমাদের সুপারভাইজার ইনফরমেশন দেয়, তারপর আমরা যাই ব্যাংক থেকে উঠাই পয়সা, উঠাই আবার দোকান থেকে মাল নিয়ে আসি।
আচ্ছা,
আসার পরে সেন্টারে থাকে, আমরা ওদেরকে খিচুড়ি খাওয়াই।
তো কতদিন থেকে এখন বাচ্চারা খাবার পাচ্ছে না?
15 দিন হয়েছে।
Close to Darang, deep inside Bodoland, the story is the same. This Anganwadi has not received food rations for over 2 months. Many of these children may only eat a single meal today or maybe none. In communities such as this, government schemes like ICDS are lifelines for such children.
Entire governance of these public services is very much the state's responsibility.
Jyotri Rekha Borgoin is currently both the CDPO and DSWO in Dibrugarh.
যথেষ্ট অসুবিধা হৈছে, কিন্তু উপায় নাই, আমাৰ ইয়াত মানুহ নাই দিব পৰাকে, নতুন ৰিক্ৰুটমেণ্ট হোৱা নাই, যাৰ কাৰণে পোষ্টবিলাক খালী আছে। মেন পাৱাৰটো আমাৰ যথেষ্ট অসুবিধা আছে। আমাৰ ছুপাৰভাইজাৰ আছে, এইখিনি কণ্ট্ৰেকচুৱেল, সেই কণ্ট্ৰেকচুৱেলখিনি বহু মাহ ধৰি দৰমহা পোৱা নাই। ৰেগুলাৰ দৰমহা পাই থাকিলে তেওঁলোকে যি ধৰণে কাম কৰিব পাৰিলেহেঁতেন, এতিয়া স্বাভাৱিকতে কমিছে। এইটো এটা ডাঙৰ সমস্যা হৈছে। আমাৰ বহুত মানে প্ৰায় এটা ডাঙৰ সংখ্যা মানে আমাৰ ছুপাৰভাইজাৰ আছে, প্ৰায় আধাখিনিমান বুলি ক'লেও বেয়া নহয়।
Shikha Das breaks down while being asked about what food the kids have eaten.
दिन के दिन ना खाए न खाए मुझे 5 दिन भात खा नहीं। 5 दिन भात खा नहीं, साउल मासुल का पैसा मास मानो पूरा खुशी खुशी दिया भात चल के टाका नहीं खुआ, तार देवता को काम पुआ नहीं खरच बही एनो का मानो पूरा कापुर कानी खुशी आनी पिंड सुन आनी पिंड।
Decades of oppression and discrimination has had devastating effects on their health. The tea estate owners deliberately maintain this status quo. The illiteracy ignorance keeps the tribes in check and in the dark.
এই বছৰটোৰ কথা ক'বলৈ গ'লে নৱেম্বৰ মাহৰ লগে 92টা এডমিট হৈছে ইয়াত।
An NRC, Nutritional Rehabilitation Center, is an important platform in the fight against malnutrition. Mothers and severely malnourished children referred by their local Anganwadi centers arrive here. They are then put on a minimum of 15 days rehabilitation course to improve their condition. NRCs are the last avenue when a child is critical. Without NRCs, the battle is lost.
যেটো আমাৰ সেম কেছ ৰখা ৱাৰ্ড, সেই ৱাৰ্ডটো আমাৰ একেবাৰে সৰু। আমি এনে 10খন বেড যদিও ৰাখিছোঁ, 10টা পেচেণ্ট আমাৰ ৰাখিব পৰা অৱস্থাত নাই।
Dibrugarh has a population of over 1.5 lakh people, but only one NRC for the entire district.
পাৰ্মানেণ্টলি এজন পেডিটিচিয়ান নাই ইয়াত। পেডিটিচিয়ান নোহোৱাৰ কাৰণে আমাৰ কিছু ক্ষেত্ৰত অকণমান অসুবিধাৰ সন্মুখীন হ'ব লগা হয়। যিহেতু তেখেতে থকা সময়ছোৱাত আমি মানে নিজকে ষ্ট্ৰং ফিল কৰোঁ, যে পেডিটিচিয়ান নাথাকিলে আমি মানে অলপ মানে কিবা অলপ মানে সাহসটো আমাৰ কমি যায়।
At the NRC in Kharupetia, it is the same situation. The dietitian in charge, Aditi, has put in great effort to help the children, but there is only so much she can do.
We have like so many sub-centers are there and Anganwadi centers are there. We used to communicate, we used to have a link with them all the time. Like we used to ask them if they have any patients, please bring us. Or if they have, then they call us like that. Because we have only 10 beds, no? So they have to ask before. Because if there is no vacancy, how will we keep here? If, like they used to pay so much of money while coming here, no?
Bhoni and her mother Rekha have been admitted here for over 10 days. The day she leaves the NRC, the good nutrition intake stops and the child's health is under danger again. Chances of her survival are slim.
For as long as you have early marriage, for as long as you have mothers that aren't getting the care they need when they're pregnant, for as long as you have children whose malnutrition goes undetected, definitely they're in danger. There is a danger there.
This is India's fight against malnutrition. 10 steel beds, hardly any staff, and a lack of empathy. With massive economic growth in the past 2 decades, the food grain production has doubled, and yet millions of children in our country are dying of hunger. The block supervisors take us from one village to another, and the number of malnourished children keeps growing.
Level of recognition that we have right now at the national level, maybe at the state government level, is that enough to trigger the change that needs to happen?
The entire world drinks tea picked by the hands that cannot feed their own children. Today, their children die in the thousands, and not a single voice is raised.
Malnutrition should not just be a mother's business. It has to be a whole family's business. It has to be a whole society's business. And that means that everybody has to come together to make sure that, women and children are well taken care of.
It continues to be a major public health problem.
While every day the news debates on issues that seem important, no mention is made for Bhoni, no mention is made for Preeti or Pooja or Shikha and her children, or Jubeda and her just born son. Their empty faces look at us with anticipation, hope that someday someone might rescue them from this battleground. India's children are in danger. In this battle, they are alone.